decisions which sometimes is not ideal. Sometimes it may have not been your choice, it may have not been your decision to make, but yet you find yourself in such a situation. To start with, I want to point out that here in the UK, Ireland, and Scotland, abortion is legal. You can do it via the NHS, given that they have accepted so, and it can be done within 24 weeks. A person under the age of 16 can do so, as long as they have parental guidance, or perhaps they can even out without any parental guidance. And a person above the age of 16 can take such medical decisions without anyone assisting them. But for today, I have with me my brother and my sister on the stage, and we're going to discuss with you if abortion we are for or against. And feel free, call in, it's a live chat show. We want to hear your opinion. Hello guys.
Hi.
How are we?
Good.
Please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Angelique. For those that watch the Boss Brothers live TV all the time, I'm the host, TV presenter of The Voice of Reason. And for those that follow me on Facebook, known by Angelique, where I give my experience of life and advice, and also to motivate others that feel like they themselves, they find themselves in difficult situation and they find that there's nowhere out, to know that you're not alone and that there are others that have gone through and those that are going through the same thing that you've been through.
Thank you very much. And our brother here.
Hi, my name is Osita. I am a writer and a filmmaker. I wrote a book on the genre of crime noir, and also I'm a filmmaker in terms of made documentaries, and I've also made films here in London.
Amazing. So you hear we have a motivational speaker and filmmaker slash writer, and me. I don't need to introduce myself, you already know who I am. So today we're speaking about abortion, as I said before. So let's dig in, let's talk about this. You're probably wondering why there's a guy sitting here, but you know, you should have your say as well, isn't it?
No doubt, no doubt.
So let's dig in. So abortion, what do we have to say about it first? Like in general, what do you have to say about abortion?
Well, for those that have grown up like in a Christian home, we all know abortion is a no-go area. But growing up, you seem to encounter yourself in circumstances or with people that have came across a circumstance that they had to go through abortion. So for me, abortion, I would say 50-50.
50-50 in terms of for or against?
50-50 in terms of, because yes, abortion is wrong in a religion sense, in us, a belief in those that are born in Christian and raised up in Christian. But there are people that are...
Even Islam or Hindu and
Yes,
stuff.
there are people that are encounter themselves in a situation, let's say a medical situation. For me, if you encounter yourself in a medical situation where it's putting yourself life and death, is it worth it? You carrying on with something that would lead you to death and probably the child dying anyway, and for you to lose your life. There are circumstances where we should be able to actually acknowledge and be able to come to a reasonable understanding that this person needed a medical attention. That's why they needed it. But if it's a person doing it, you know, for the sake of doing it because they're afraid, that's where me personally, I stand against it.
Okay. And you, please?
I believe that all life is sacred, guaranteed. I think that it's a real gift. It's a big gift. However, at the same time, I do feel as though obviously there's circumstances where women are in a very difficult situation. And they have a tough call to make in terms of life and in terms of things that have happened, whether it be through rape or be it through sexual assault or something like that. Therefore, they do not want to live with the consequences of what's happened. So in those cases, I can understand that, because sometimes you only know how to feel when you're in that position yourself. So I can't be too judgmental.
Too judgmental. So I'm going to read here from the Abortion Act 1967. That's the first act that they had before we have the current act, which was changed in 1990. So Abortion Act of 1967, section 1 going down to C, it says the continuity of pregnancy will be involved of risk of life of pregnant to a woman or greater than the pregnancy if it was to be carried on. So for example that you just gave, so if someone was in a position where it's a medical condition, by them carrying the child would mean they're putting their life at risk and the child's life at risk, that is considered to be a situation where you can say, I want to abort, or probably perhaps the doctors would tell you that you cannot carry on with this pregnancy. And then also in the Abortion Act of 1967, which applies the same for Abortion Act of 1990, it says that you can terminate the pregnancy from 24 weeks if there's risk involved. But 24 weeks, what is that in months?
24 weeks, I would say that's about 4 months. 4 months.
8, 12, 16,
Yeah,
it's 5 months.
About 5.
It's 5 months.
5 months. But I think when you actually think about it, there are people that they became pregnant and they found out that the child don't have a brain, the child don't have this, but they still carried on. And there are evidence of these children actually continue to live a normal life. Like not fully normal, but quite a few normal life.
Oh, we have a call. Hello, good evening, caller. How are you?
Andy, you're a joker, you know. How you doing?
I'm fine.
What are you doing there? It's your daughter's birth.
That is our brother in me.
Thank you for sharing.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
To my daughter.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
We're talking about abortion right now. Birthdays will be another day.
But like I was saying, it depends of the person themselves. It depends of the circumstances. Yes, some person might feel like, you know what, even though I've been raped, I can carry on. But with that, they will need a lot more support than any other, because in that time you're emotionally damaged, you're spiritually damaged, you're physically damaged. But for me, there are circumstances that I would say abortion can be allowed in able to save that person's life.
So, for example, in the Human Act of Abortion of 1990, Section 1 down to D, it says that if the child was to be born and they would suffer from something, like you just said, some kids are born with heart failures, kidney failures, or like tumors in the brain and stuff like that. So if they see those kind of things already from the pregnancy, if the kids would suffer from such thing as a physical or mental problem that is serious, then the doctors would also advise you, give you the option for you to decide, do I want to carry on with this pregnancy? But for other people or for myself, the argument would be more like, I am not for simply because I feel there is people who are not faced either with rape, who are not faced either with medical conditions, but they just decide, oh, I went ahead and did one silly little mistake and I got pregnant, so I'm going to get rid of it. Not once, not twice, not three, but it's like, so it becomes like a pattern for them, simply maybe because they're not married yet, they're not in a serious relationship yet, they come from an African background or a community where the culture is very, you know, strong, or frown upon you and shame and everything for having a child out of wedlock. So they go ahead and make that decision. But there is also people, like you said, medical, so it's either matter of life or death. But there's also people who are faced with rape and sometimes decide, this life is not for me. So I will either give birth and adopt, or give birth and find a way to raise the child. But sometimes the trauma of dealing with rape can be too much for someone to even to imagine to carry the child and to, you know, bring it to life. Those are the two things that I think there's a borderline of differences. What do you think about that?
Do you want to go first? Let's hear the mayor.
No, I can see your the merit in your point of view, definitely, because we live in this, we live in the UK here, and we understand that there's services here where women can go to and get that form of service, and that some women do use it. I've known people that have been 5, 4, 6 times, and it's and for some people it's almost seen as just it's just seen as almost like a service, like I don't know, like contracting a solicitor or another service. It's seen as a natural thing, but obviously, like you said, the ramifications are what are the long-term consequences of that in terms of their own healthcare and their own ability to procreate in the future. So that's the issue there.
And I don't think some people don't think about that, because later in life when they find that they're not able to have kids.
I think there are some that do think about that. We cannot say that there are people that don't think about that.
I said some.
So what we cannot
some.
some. Okay, some people do think about that, and they know the consequences of what they're doing, but they rather just go through it because of so and so circumstances that they're going through in their life. So I feel like there are people that are conscious of what they are doing, but later on, when actually they enter into that, you know, that season or that time of them actually suffering the consequences, that's when they realize that's the wrong choice I made.
Is that for someone who had made the decision because of not rape or no medical, just general?
There are people that I will agree. There are people that that they don't have a medical problem. They don't have, you know, they haven't been raped, but sometimes it could be the father. They didn't like the father.
Life circumstance.
Like circumstance. Sometimes it's like parents, especially in our community. Like not only in our community. Let's say in different community, but I would say from our community, many people, like you said, is a taboo enable for you to have a child out of a wedlock, and because of that, it kind of pushes a person, especially if they don't have somebody that they can speak to, open up to, and discuss what they're going through mentally and emotionally. It tends to bring these kind of people into doing such action. So with that, we can say they should have taken, you know, precaution, or they should have taken, you know, that kind of sense to know that, you know, this is going to bring me, this is going to make me suffer. But some people don't have that kind of surrounding people to be able to educate them, able to show them it's okay, you can have this child. I've made it. There have the billion of people that have given birth, and the father is not there. Your parents are not there. You can do it. There's a lot of circumstances that people go through that brings them either to that decision, or it helps them escape to go through that decision.
To go through the decision. Okay, no problem. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the risks of abortion, and we'll be right back. Thank you very much. What is going on? Anytime soon, you won't see me in the screen anymore. Excuse our cameraman for today. I think it's the carnival.
One rum too many.
One rum too many.
So good.
Bona Congo, site sikeye, www.okjazz.com.uk. On continue le site, au tele na right, na droite, au poni produit na yo poni, so lingi delivery yo kaka, so lingi moko yo kaka. Numéro yango eza na se écran. Yo kaka.
Tapez www.okjazz.co.uk. OK Jazz vous offre un nombre de produits de qualité de Ombia, les gels douche, savon et bain mousse de qualité. Tapez sur Store pour faire votre commande d'achat. Cherchez et choisissez votre produit désiré. Tous les produits se vendent à un set de 8 ou de 12. Tapez sur Checkout pour compléter votre achat. La livraison à domicile est un supplément de 6 livres. Ou contactez-nous pour récupérer vos produits.
Bonico, faut à la médiocre pour bouder sitoyo. Mais mon seigne va bosser ignorant.
OK Jazz, votre site d'achat. Passez votre commande aujourd'hui.
Hi. Hello, thank you for joining us again. As we were discussing before, is abortion, are we for or against? We are not here to frown upon or judge anyone for the decisions that they make. We are here to share our personal opinions. People may call in to share their personal opinion and experiences. So don't think that we're sitting here to make you feel bad about maybe some decisions that you've taken in life. Yes, someone may be faced with such decision due to medical reason. Someone may be faced with this decision due to rape, but there is people out there who are not facing rape, who are not facing any medical issues. They decide generally to just get rid of a child, sometimes once or twice or 3 times, but then again, that also depends on the circumstances which they are going through in life. And once again, thank you very much for joining us. As we were discussing before, we are now going to talk about the risk of abortion. Like, generally speaking, here in the UK, they say it's generally safe for most women to have an abortion. They won't really experience any problems. But that all really depends on individual, and sometimes on the length of the pregnancy, how far gone is the pregnancy. As we know, most women tend to take morning after pill, so that prevents the child from being formed or created to start with. But sometimes you go to 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. That is a child, in my opinion, because at 5 months, they be kicking in your womb. And at 6 months, they can be born, they be considered as premature. So the risk, as we were saying before, infections in the womb, which can lead, if someone has 1 too many abortion, from 1 to 10, that could be you perhaps facing not having kids again in your life. Then another risk is of the pregnancy remaining in the womb. Like when they take it out, sometimes they suck it out like it's from like a Hoover kind of thing, or vacuum, and you see the pieces of your child, so you actually have something to perhaps bury and have a funeral if you consider. Some don't even do that. They just tell the doctors, take it away, throw it away. And sometimes those doctors would take the remaining of your child and use it for experiments and stuff like that, and organs and things like that, to then to use your child in it as an experiment. And then you may experience excessive bleeding after abortion. That is if they had to do the whole vacuum and everything like that. And again, damage to the womb, which is close to 1 to over 200 surgical operations, but less than 1,000 medical operations can be carried within 12 to 24 weeks. And some people do it after 24 weeks, and that is not pleasant at all. And like Angie said before, some people do consider all these risks, and they find themselves in a quiet place, and then they start to think about what they've done. Maybe because of life choices that they made, they realize it's now too late. But you were also saying before that sometimes it's good to have your child.
Because I feel like in this earth, as we come through, human beings tend to make this routine or this law that everything must happen to everybody
A certain way.
in a certain way, in the same way. So
The orderly manner, you get engaged, you get this, you get,
But I feel like everybody's born in their own season. If it was everything was supposed to go according to, you know, this sort of structure, then all of us would be probably either all failures or all succeed. But the reason why we're all born at a different time, different year, different month, different days, is because everybody has a different gift.
Even Jesus was not born in that structure.
Everybody has their own, you know, their own path, their own route that they're supposed to take in life. And this is the issue that we see many people, they tend to, you know, jealousy, they tend to envy and everything. But I believe sometimes, like, I'll give my perfect example. I was wild. When I say I was wild, I was
party wild.
not even party, fight. I will cuss whoever I want. I will say whatever I want. But when it came for me having my child, and even with the circumstances that I went through, I actually realized my child actually helped me to grow. My child helped me to understand life better, to understand people better, to appreciate people, to respect everybody, to take everybody into consideration when I'm about, even when they hurt me, to know how to deal. So I see it is your own decision, because at the end of the day, if somebody's telling you, especially young people, especially this is what I always go forward to the young people, when your friends are advising you, go ahead, have an abortion. If you feel deep inside of you that
just bad advice.
It's bad advice, do not take it, because you don't know what that child will do for you. There are many people, they felt like to have an abortion, but they didn't have an abortion, even though their family had to go at them. Everybody has a right to make mistake, but it's not right for you to just sit there in that mistake and repeat it. But you need to be able to find that strength within you and actually build yourself. That child will be maybe help you. Well, maybe even if your father or your mother cuss you, insult you, curse you, maybe later on in the future, you don't know what that child will be. And maybe will bless that family, will actually be a blessing for that family, and will be a blessing for yourself. There are other young ladies that we hear, and we have a male in our studio right now, that you see a partner that you were with. I'm speaking to those that they don't have a medical condition or any of that. The partner that you were with, and you got pregnant, and they're telling you, you know, you have to abort it. If he was able to lay down with you and get you pregnant, I am sorry, you both have to consider the consequences and bear it together. And if you're a woman, let me tell you something, you are stronger than you think. And once you give birth to that child, you'll understand your value. You'll understand that you're capable to do anything and everything. And some men, well, I don't blame them, that the woman, you know, they decide to go and have an abortion. We cannot just blame it on the guy. They decide to go and have an abortion, which then I would say, if the man didn't, you know, impose it onto them, then that means the fault is on the woman. There are other girls that their parents force them to go and have abortion.
Do you think men are quite imposing in that element, in terms of that they tend to always want you know, to take an easy option and not think about the holistic?
I feel like majority of especially the young men want it like that, because at that time they feel like, you know, I live in my mama's house. I
feel like no man wants to accept responsibilities in this current age anymore.
I feel like men. I feel like majority, they are actually men that just want to just, you know, multiply themselves, multiply this, sorry, pardon me, their stupidity into this earth by just impregnating young girls or people in
left, right, and centre.
But I feel like for a woman, she will feel pressure because we are emotion. We work with emotion. So when we have the child, when a woman feels pregnant for a man,
you're automatically connected.
You're automatically connected.
Life
it feels like it's a gift.
Everything in you is changed.
I'm giving it back to you because as a woman, we reproduce. It's our system. It's our function. It's a gift. We reproduce,
but we can't do it without you, though.
No, don't do it.
Yeah, but when we get that seed, it's like we want you to feel like, wow, this is mine. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to make sure your body's going to change. I'm going to be there. But when you're young and you get that pregnancy and the guy rejects you, the way it damages a woman, and especially the guys that deny the child, them guys, they should get slapped.
That's like the example you were giving.
I mean, it's, from my own history, I've known guys that have, you know, their partners become pregnant and they've denied responsibility. And I've had conversations with many guys in the past that, listen, your partner's pregnant. If you're saying that you're doubting that you're the paternal responsibility of the child, take your time. Just encourage the mum, be with her, support her, okay? And you can find all that out in time. But don't just cut yourself off, not offer her support.
But they are devilish girls.
No, I know, but I'm just talking. Come on, I'm just talking. You know, I'm talking from the situations that I know.
Yeah.
The guys know that, listen, they were the main person there, do you understand me? But irrespective, maybe there was something else happened, they might have heard rumours, and then they start to have doubt. But even still, I do believe you have to offer support.
In that situation, that's when people actually want to listen to rumours. Because before they're in that situation, they were not listening to rumours. They were enjoying their sweet pepper soup. Eating the
Nobody gets in a relationship. No, God has set something in a person's mind, which is conscience. Even when, as soon as you encounter yourself with somebody, you will feel the energy between you and that person. You will feel, and there will be signs to show you if this person is a serious person or not. But when you decide to continue, even though you see that this thing is not going to go anywhere, that's when it's your own fault. But I feel like there are people that...
Some men are very good actors, you know, and some women are very good actors too. Some actresses as well.
Some men are... let's just...
I mean, I remember I worked...
We have a call on the line. Hello?
Hi, this is Fina speaking. I'm calling from the US.
Oh, you're calling from the US. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
We're very well, thank you. What would you like to share with us in terms of the topic that we're speaking about today? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah? What would you like to share with us?
Yeah, I've been following the show, and I just wanted to say it's a very interesting topic that you are raising there, and it's a very complex matters, situations about abortion, and very sensitive topic. But I have a little experience that I would like to share with you. I used to work as a student nurse in South Africa, and I used to work in a women's clinic where they used to perform abortions. So there was a lot. We used to receive many kind of cases, but there was one cases that we received because before receiving cases, we always used to do counseling to patients that used to come for abortion.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't used to do abortion mainly. I was there as a student and just observing. But there was a patient that came in that touched me so much that actually left me question myself about these situations about abortion. She was a young lady, I think into her 20s, and she was living with her elder sister. And it happened that her elder sister's husband got her pregnant, like kind of like rape or sexual abuse or something like that. And she was in this situation in her sister's house, not knowing what to do because she was homeless. She was basically being supported by her elder sister. And she was found stranded because if she told her sister about the situation with the husband, she'd be kicked off and everything. And if she kept the baby, eventually the baby will be born, and the sister will find out that the baby is for the husband. And then, so it was a very, very sensitive situation. She came in for abortion, and she was literally crying, and she was telling the story. As we were giving her counseling, she was telling the story. I was literally crying myself. I was like, okay, in this kind of situation, what does a person expect to do? Like, you find yourself pregnant with your sister's husband, and you have to do abortions and all that. So, like, it was very sensitive and situation for her. So following the show, I think really like the lady, I think Angelique talking there, saying that it's a 50-50 situation, kind of like, because like some women don't really have a choice, like they find themselves in a situation where they don't have a choice but to do abortion. And when you look at this situation of abortion, many people think it's just single women that does abortion. But I was reading an article here in the US. There was one article I was reading recently that was showing that about 25% of married women are involved in abortion because they are married, but they do find themselves in a situation as they had a first baby, they had a second baby, and they come to pregnancy where they didn't plan. And they found themselves in a situation that they also forced them to have an abortion. So I just wanted to emphasize about this abortion situation. Really, it's a bad thing according to the Bible, according to us Christians. But in a long way, some people are really forced to just do it because they have no choice. I'm not talking about these young ladies that just get pregnant recklessly. I would call really they are heartless. But I'm talking about in a bad situations, like we say, in a matter of medical aspect, in a matter of life threat, in a matter of like you don't have a choice, sexual abuse, rape, and stuff like that. People find themselves with no choice but to just do it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You said the married couple 25%. So like even someone who is married find themselves in situations where they actually have to have an abortion instead of actually keeping the child. Is that perhaps maybe? Oh, there's another call.
That was a really good segue.
Yeah. Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. Caller number 2. Please introduce yourself.
Sorry.
Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The signal's not really great where I am. I'm afraid. I'm so sorry. But hopefully you guys can hear me a bit better.
Yes.
Yeah. Just for my contribution-wise, like getting an abortion in the UK is not something that is easy. Like even in the medical field, they really do try to discourage you as much as possible. The legal aspect of it is that before even any abortion can occur, you must go through the counselling process. Whoever's going to conduct the abortion needs to have a second opinion. So if it's a consultant or a surgeon, they need to get a second opinion, so get another another doctor who is at the same level as them to consent to it. So there must be 2 doctors consenting, and once that's done, they'll try to re-counsel you again, ensure that you really do understand what you're getting yourself into, get to be seen by the psychiatry team before you even take that process. So it's really a long-winded process that
it takes long as well
people actually go through. So, like, coming back to people that I've seen, you know, in the little bit of the medical field that I have, or the little bit of the medical knowledge I have, is that what they want to do is try to get you not to accept your situation, but to look at it in a different aspect. Would abortion be mentally good for you? Can you actually mentally handle the aftermath of it? Would it be easier for you to probably have a baby than get a baby adopted? So they give you various options that you can actually go through. But as an African myself, I absolutely understand where you guys are coming from, where some people feel ashamed, some people have that mentality of being shunned upon, some people will feel that, okay, if I do this, or if I keep the baby and I'm not married, would another man marry me? And another thing that we need to keep in mind is men don't make it easy for women, because women tend to be quite connected with their emotions, and when they come with such a situation and they're talking to a medical person, I'm not talking about this in regards to maybe rape or miscarriages or malformation of a child, but I'm talking about it in the context where you are in a relationship with someone and you fall pregnant, and then you have to make that decision as a couple of whether to keep the pregnancy or to abort it. Women tend to rely a lot more on the men's decision than on their own, and they tend to see what the men's reaction is after they've told them that they're pregnant. And from that reaction is when they make up their mind whether to keep their child or not. But it takes a very strong person for them to actually make that decision of saying, okay, I'm going to go and have an abortion, because it's not easy. It's something that will scar you for life. And unless you actually know what you're doing and understand what you're doing, the medical field will always try to dissuade you. It must be a decision you're sort of made beforehand before you even go to see them. Because when you go to see them, they will drag it out as long as possible before they get to say, okay, we're going to go through with it.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Hopefully that's been a little bit more helpful for you guys, and hopefully those who are watching can really understand the implications of having an abortion.
Thank you. And you work in the medical field yourself?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
So that's 2 good calls there. Both one who was training in the abortion clinic and one who works in the medical field. So they've given us an insight of what it's like when they receive people in the hospital and what they go through. So like she said herself, it takes a lot, because it's something that's going to scar you. Obviously, having to carry a child for 9 months is not easy. Raising a child is not easy, but it's more pleasant than it is, like what you said earlier, finding yourself in that corner, having to remember. Some are probably thinking that I have blood in my hands.
Do you know what is funny? Sorry.
And on birthdays and and times afterwards, it does come back to people's minds.
Do you know what's funny? Many people, and those that are watching me right now, many people, especially families, those aunties,
the
and
elders,
uncles, they put it on the young people that are not married so much. Yes, I know they want to correct the child, but now hearing it from a person who's been there in the clinic, even married. What do you guys say about the marriage people now that they go to have an abortion? But you're there hammering these young people.
They think it's just the single ones.
Yeah,
it's
they're
not just
hammering
singles.
them. And did you know
married couples are actually going to deal with this.
Yeah. But the thing you don't understand, when you're hammering these young kids, imagine they've got a whole life ahead of them. Some of them go and do this, then later, because like mentally it damages them. And
you also need to look at the risks where they find themselves, one, either dead
won't even commit suicide themselves.
Not if you come out alive and you decide to take your own life, that's your
true.
decision.
And
But some die in the process, in the
guaranteed.
process of abortion, or maybe in the process of childbirth, and some find themselves later years in life married, and you never
can't have
told your
kids.
husband that you had several abortions and you can't have kids. And then you say, "Oh, about God help me." You put yourself in that situation, and you if you ever have such experience, I urge of you, when you're getting married, speak to your husband, let them know. And if they accept to carry on with the relationship and to carry on with the marriage, anything that comes along after there, they should be there to support you. But what she said about the marriage couples, everybody
one.
frowns upon young
Singles,
ladies.
the
Yeah,
singles,
The
those that are not
singles,
married.
those
I normally concentrate on that.
But there's married people, there's aunties and uncles in their household getting their wives to have abortions.
But there are those that their husband as well, because even there's a law that if a husband forces their wife to have have sexual intercourse,
Yeah.
can happen as well.
Yeah,
So
that's a
even when
rape
it comes,
already.
that's even a rape.
That's rape. You
And
can be married and still be raped in your
Yes.
house.
So these things, as well as today, thank God, I was with somebody and they were explaining to me that they newly got married, and obviously when you're newly married, you're excited. Whoosh, she had a kid. His wife got pregnant, but then there were no one to guide them, for them to know to take precaution, and able to know that when you have a child, take time for your wife to grow, for your wife to develop her body to get back together.
Yeah, because there's so many things that you experience in
Yeah.
between the pregnancy and after, which is why a lot of people get affected mentally, fall into postnatal depression and ongoing depression generally.
And I feel like even those that are in marriage lack that sort of guidance, that sort of support, in able to guide them and help them.
Is there a lot of awareness though and support in terms of the medical support of post pregnancy? What do you think?
In this country there is.
Yeah.
But when it comes to us, African, Caribbean, and maybe the Asian minorities, we don't really seek to find that about it. Sometimes it's not visually in our faces, and sometimes because we don't want to know, we don't want to accept. Our culture is so tabooed and frowned upon so many things, so we don't really get to look at it that way. You look at it, the example she gave, the aunties and uncles. You are under 30, you are not married, and you're pregnant for who? Where is this person? Another thing that we need to see is here in the UK, people actually have it good. Because if it happened outside of the Western society, as in back in Africa, they are packing you, packing your things,
and taking you to
and
the
taking
owner
you
of
to
the
the owner of the
pregnancy.
pregnancy. Nobody's taking you to have an abortion. And people who do try to have abortions in Africa, they do it in clinics in the corner.
And some of them end up dead.
Some end up dead.
Like it
They
used to be
make their own ginger mix.
Yeah, they use hangover, all kind of nonsense.
So many things that here you have someone who's sitting you down, counselling you, speaking to you, and having follow-ups. No follow-up is given in Netherlands.
Yeah.
But I think many of the young people I don't want no uncles and aunties to think I'm empowering the young one. I feel like some of the aunties and uncles have the right to get angry and behave in a certain way. But I feel like many lack a method in able to reduce
Yes, they do.
this amount,
They do.
this thing to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like with the young people, they feel encouraged. That's why there's a new law that, young people, if you're under 20, I think it's 21 or 22, you will not be able to have your own property. Because now, back in the days, it was like, as soon as you get pregnant, I'm getting my own house.
And now they try to fix the situation,
it.
keep you in your mother's house.
Another thing that
makes sense.
the second lady said that, how the medical, the doctors and all that, they're trying to slow that.
They prolong the process, yeah.
And I think that is good, but also it could be bad.
Yeah, because the child is growing as the days
child
and the
is
hours
growing,
go by.
But I feel like it's also time for you, if you are watching us right now, that you find yourself in this situation,
To think about it.
it gives you time to think about it. And regarding the first caller, when she said about this young girl that
In
got
South
pregnant
Africa, yeah.
in South Africa, let me tell you something. Yes, you can go and you can get an abortion and everything, but let me tell you something. If he was able to rape you, just know if you hide that person, they'll be able to rape even
Again.
somebody else.
Or perhaps even rape you again.
I-
You find yourself pregnant again and find yourself sitting in the same clinic again.
They are there are those that are even raped by their own fathers, by their uncles, by their cousins, by their brothers.
Yeah.
And these are things I feel like within our community, I'll say community.
It's big.
It's big, but I think it should be, people should be encouraged to speak out loud about these things.
Like, for instance, I know someone that was brought here from Ghana, to the UK from Ghana. Their parents died. They went to stay with their auntie. They moved to their auntie's house somewhere in West London. And then the auntie's husband started to press her for a good, essentially raped her for a good 4 or 5 years. Can you imagine? So and in African, I actually don't know further on from that, because it was actually divulged to a friend of mine who was dating the lady, and then she told the guy. And the thing is, it's a very common situation in African households, and it's not talked about. It's not spoken about. It's taboo. It's just wiped under the...
Because those kids, those young ladies that go on and have an abortion, you don't understand the effect that takes on to a person. Speaking on a person who's been raped, who's been molested,
for rape and molested and medical conditions is something that someone would actually just sit there and think about it, because it's not a choice that they made. They cannot sit there and say it was a mistake or my silly mistake because I went ahead and jumped and had, sexual intercourse with this person. Yeah. But like the other lady said, there is young ladies who are just doing it for the sake, because they did that with Tom, they did that with Harry, and then now because Harry said, I'm not interested. And there is, as we started and to where we are now, we've spoken about the risk and the abortions and how men tend to put pressure on women. But did you ever think about the pressure that some women put on men? Where it's a decision that two people should take, right? Yes. But sometimes you find yourself where the man is not interested and the woman is having to make a decision by themselves. And when they make the decision by themselves, like, I've decided I'm going to keep this child, then it's a problem to the man. Or if they were to turn around and make a decision, I've decided I'm going to abort this child. There is also a man out there who will frown upon it and be like, why are you aborting my child? I should make a decision if I want to keep this child or not. So, I don't know. It's a situation where a man should have a say. The man should have a say and say, I don't want you to abort my child. Because there is some people out there who look at it as in they're willing to accept their responsibilities and know that I did this with you, and now that you're in this position and you've decided, because the woman could be like, oh no, we're not married, we're not this, I don't want to keep it. But then the man could be like, no, the example you gave, we'll walk through this together. I want my child.
A few years ago, I think those that have been watching the news, there was a young lady who was pregnant, and the boyfriend, or so-called the ex, didn't accept the girl having his child, and decided to kick her. The other one was even throwing acid on all of our body. Yeah,
but she was almost due. She was at the end of, she was on the end of her pregnancy.
We can't just, because I feel like this country, they gives more credibility to the woman. And I feel like there's some women that abuse their power. They abuse that credibility in able to damage a man. And I feel like, yes, it's a decision of two. And I feel like both of you should be able to sit down and actually have that communication and actually understand the circumstances. And actually think about it, what we're going to do. But those that are in a relationship, I feel like this country, we don't have an excuse for you who do not have a medical problem for you to have an abortion, because there's clinics that give you condom, they give you
deception
implant pills in able for you to take precaution, because the world is getting bigger and bigger, and even these politic people beginning to kill people because there's too much, and people are not taking conscious and actually taking their own side responsibility.
You also need to bear in mind all these contraception pills and all this implants. They're not 100%. Even a condom is not 100%, right? So they have side effects. Too much contraception pills can lead to you having a slower, fertilization process. Later in life, it's taking you ages to even, have a child, where you're having miscarriages, you're having this. One morning after pill is equivalent to 30 pills of a row of the contraception pill. One morning after pill is equivalent to the whole 30. So just think to yourself what you're doing on your body. The more morning pill today, contraception pill today, an injection which can lead to you having constant bleeding. What's those things?
The implant is even worse. Implant is even worse.
Everything, as we say, even the natural things, if you do too much, it's not good for you. So even those things, it has. There's no 100%.
And like you said, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Every woman has a different kind of constitution, and so what works in terms of the pill might not work with the
will
IUD,
not work for you. People still get pregnant when they're on their pills.
Yeah.
You take a pill, morning after pill, you still get pregnant. You take your normal daily everyday pill. Oh, but I was on the pill and I saw my period. You still get pregnant. You'll be on your period and you still get pregnant.
But I feel like the fact that there's education about this is already something that these young people and even adults should take into consideration, because there are others that they live in a country, there's no such education to be taught to them about this.
Okay, but it's a very wise point you made there. But can I just add? Okay, we live in the West here. There's so much information is available.
Education
so
or not.
much through formal means or informal means, and a lot of young people don't seek it.
No.
And consciously don't seek it. Almost they're happy to be ignorant. So the case of what you're talking about in terms of the lady that got pregnant, there's another case where a lady got pregnant and the guy got his friend and they went to go and beat up the girl.
Yeah, the young lady. Yeah.
I'm like, what point? What kind of mentality?
He allowed 8 months to go through before.
Do you know why? I feel like if all this is
because this is about manhood, and they're not taught about manhood.
You see these things here. If we look at it, these things that we're seeing now are the results. They're on the surface. But if you go inside, you tend to see majority of these young people that are ending up, doing this such action. They themselves grew up in a single parent home.
And like you said, it's manhood. They're not being taught about manhood.
And many young ladies, and especially within the African community, is like, before everything, many parents, they motivate or stimulate their children's mind into a man. You need to finish education, get a man, marry you, have kids. Finish your education, and
even live in a depressed marriage. You cannot walk out of the marriage.
These are the things where I feel like parents should take responsibility. Where you're not teaching your child just marriage, because marriage does not really define a person. Marriage,
not at all.
It doesn't mean it's a whole life. Just
are
like
they
that.
Even teaching marriage? They're just saying the word marriage.
They're saying the marriage. Marriage has lost its value within our community, within our society. Marriage has lost even the word marriage itself. It seems like nobody fear anymore, because many parents do not teach the child even to know themselves, to understand themselves, to bring up themselves, and to build themselves. Education has tried to do that, like in secondary school and primary school, by giving many subjects enable for you to find yourself and where you like, and able to help you for your path. But I feel like as a parent, you bring your child into this earth, you should be able to bring. It's your responsibility to bring this. And these young kids growing up in this family home and able to even get into the situation that they are raped, this is where I feel like I'm not blaming, but I'm pulling the ear, where we say in African, in our language, in able for them to be aware of these. Because if we're able to bring this into awareness, there'll be less of a young people going into abortion. There'll be less of seeing the young men going ahead and hitting or beating and getting themselves, risking the whole life to spend in jail and wasting that whole, let's say 30-40 years that they could have spent with their kids and building their own family, building their career, building themselves, just for that. And I feel like we as a community need to take a responsibility. And as a parent, we need to take a responsibility. And you don't have to be a parent for you to take that responsibility. But you have to be a person that is strong-minded and have compassion and a dream. And that mind focusing onto the younger generation. Because they're the one that's going to help us when we go old. And I feel like this has to be, shown out to everybody, enable for them to really look out for this.
And you shared a story that someone carried a child and got rid of the child and without their permission. Can you?
No, I just mentioned earlier on that on a personal note, I had a partner who, after a certain amount of time, maybe 3 months, 4 months, then at that time, then she became a bit distant for maybe a month. And I was obviously not responding to phone calls or so on. And then she contacted me and said, I was pregnant and I terminated without any form of, without telling me beforehand. And I just felt at the time, obviously, that, you know, both of us were involved in a relationship. I should have been informed, so at least we could have made a joint decision. But, you know, but I think it goes down to what, you know, mentions what you referred to regarding, essentially you talked about the essence of power being more with the women in terms of being able to make that decision, and that some people maybe don't utilize that in the right way. Because definitely for me, I mean, I was even thinking about it this week because the child would have been 21.
Wow.
You know? Yeah. So you know, it's something that doesn't leave your mentality.
And I think that's a place where, like, you both pointed women, like, their body and not using it in the right way. So you feel like it's my body, I will make the decision whether I'm going to keep this child or not. But you had a man or a young man who may not have been ready, but was willing to accept their responsibilities and get on with it. And you take the decision, my body, I'm not having this child, so this is not taking place anymore. But then you also have the young men who come along like, I ain't ready. And then they realize the reality of it, and that, oh, perhaps this is not the girl that I want to carry on with. And then the true side of them come out, that they really just come in there just, you know, to enjoy some pepper soup. And then they realize they don't want to hang around. So then they tell you, I don't want it. And some don't really say the words, I don't want it. They just peer pressure you,
and even
into
the
make you feel guilty, the gestures
body
and
language.
the thing, body language, and they're waiting for you to say. You probably come up to them and be like, "Do you want me to have an abortion?" And they'll be like, "Oh, it's a decision you can take, but you know, because that's what they want."
Okay with whatever
I'm okay with whatever you do. That's them saying that's what I want you to do. So that at the end you could be like, "Oh yeah,
some guys
they did
are
it."
good with mind game, you know.
Yeah,
They're good with
professionals.
Mind game. Oh, do you want to have an abortion? Whatever you like, I'll go along with you. But deep down, they're like, my friend, kill that child. Kill that child.
I'm gonna when we were speaking about the risks before, I want to read some comments, but I just want to give some medical advice in terms of the risk. And before I do so, I want to remind the viewers one more time, because there are people out there who are probably watching the show and looking at all of us and be like, who are you guys to come and speak about this? Well, I'm somebody and I'm Marlene, so I can speak about this subject and we can speak about this subject. But we're not here to frown upon it. We're not here to point fingers. We're not here to insult you. Yes, we are aware that someone may have an abortion due to rape. Someone may have an abortion due to medical condition, but there are people who are not facing medical condition, who were not raped, but they decide because they went with Tom and they went with Harry, it didn't work out, that they will go ahead and have several abortions. Please, if you have done so, before you get married or go into a serious relationship, let your partner or your husband or your wife know that you took other women to go and have abortions, or you went ahead and had abortion, so they are aware of this. Because within your relationships, when you're having issues and you can't have kids and you're thinking where it's coming from, is the seeds that you have sown. And then so the medical advice of seeking advice, if you find yourself you're having excess bleeding, like in the form of large clots, or that is going through more than 2 weeks because maybe you had a miscarriage or maybe you had an abortion, you need to go and seek medical advice. And if you have several pains which you cannot control with painkillers or even ibuprofen, such as so, you need to go and seek medical advice. That tends to happen after maybe a miscarriage or an abortion. And if you're having high temperature, such as fever, you need to seek medical advice. And if you're having funny smells in your private area, such as show like discharges that doesn't smell correct, seek medical advice. And if you are having symptoms that seems like continuously of a pregnancy, such as sore breasts or feeling nausea, you still need to go and seek medical advice. You can walk into the NHS, they will give you advice, they will speak to you, they will counsel you through. And if you find yourself in a situation that is a very difficult situation because someone used and abused you and you don't know what to do with the child, you don't know if you should have it and adopt, or you don't even know what to do, it's very difficult to be in such situation. I would not want to imagine to be in such situation, but I would say seek help, seek advice, speak to someone before you make that decision. It's not a nice position to be in, to know that someone had used your body for their personal satisfaction to sexually abuse you, and now you are pregnant. And it's not a good place to be in when the doctor tell you, ma'am, your body is functioning like this, and because of this, if you carry on with this pregnancy, you may not be able to survive, so you have to do A, B, C, or D. Take your time, seek advice. But if you find yourself pregnant and they say this child is, I don't know, has some medical faults. My mom, when she was pregnant for my sister, when she went to the hospital, they told her, oh, this child, we think that they may have Down syndrome, they think we may have this. My mom said, I'm going to carry on with this pregnancy. There is nothing wrong with my sister. Nothing wrong with my sister whatsoever. But it was a risk that she took. And not everybody's willing to take that risk. So when you do find yourself in such a position, please seek advice. So I'm going to go ahead and read some of the, I don't know, I haven't even got the show up here. Some of the Facebook comments and see what the viewers are saying. And thank you for the call that we received from the USA. Thank you from the call that we received here in the UK as well. And for such medical advice that you gave to us. Do you have the show up? Do you want to read some of the comments?
It's on the screen. Says, this makes me ask a question. What happens to the right of the woman? It is not up.
Yeah, that's...
So we have Jeanette, who say, this makes me ask questions. What happens to the right of the woman? Is it not up to her to, to make the decision whether she keeps the child or regardless of the situation? A woman has a right to make the decision whether they keep the child or not. But they don't have the right to use that against a man to overpower them and be like, it's my body, I do this and I do this. There are men out there who actually want to have the child, but there are women out there who decides to go ahead and have an abortion. He gave us an example. His child would have been 21 today, if she didn't make the decision to have an abortion without his say. Perhaps he would have decided to say, okay, I'm stepping up, you're going to have this child, I'm going to help you, we're going to look after this child, and we're going to make the most of it. But she didn't allow him to have such a view or have such a say.
But we can't really blame her because we're
not blaming, we're just giving the examples because there are women out there who use that against men. It's my body, I can do what I want, so I'm not having this child.
But I think probably she was scared of rejection. Some people are scared to get the result. They don't know what they're going to have. But all of a sudden, because they've heard so-and-so's story, they tend to already think automatically, he's going to reject me. He's going to deny the child. He's going to say it. And some women tend to avoid that and tend to go for it. They make their own decision to do that.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, consult the guy because of the guilt and everything. And I think that's what she was going through. She didn't know how you're going to react. She didn't know. Maybe probably you were young.
But if you're in a serious relationship with someone, well, you're
able
to discuss many things, then you should. And one of the comments here, they said, is lack of communication. You need to be able to communicate with each other. And even the men who decide that they don't want you to have the child, they want you to have an abortion, communicate and explain to them your reasons to why you want them to have an abortion. If your reasons to wanting them to have an abortion is simply because you wanted to have some pepper soup and you're not ready. Who is ever ready? Our grandparents were not ready. Our mothers, everything that we go through now that we experience, nothing is new. Yes, technology is expanding and growing, but the rest of the life circumstances, nothing is new. Your father probably has a child outside of marriage. This is that. We're not saying, like she said, we're not here to encourage you. We're not here to say, go ahead and do it. But we're here to say, if you find yourself in such a situation, take a moment and think. And we also have, she said again, unfortunately, the law supports the woman as she is the host of the empire and has, as she is the host of the embryo, and it said that she has the right to choose. There is a law that should be coming up very soon. You cannot have an abortion without the man's say. They have to be there to say whether they want you to have this child or not. And they have also introduced contraception for men. So you can freeze your sperm. I don't know if it will function after when you unfreeze it. So
does that actually come online?
It's coming live. They're already talking about it medically. They're introducing it, and they're talking about it that they want to help the men to be in control because they feel like women have they're in control a lot. But they also need to remember there is a man who would say, I didn't do anything, and then you find yourself pregnant. Oh, but you said you didn't do anything, and like some men impregnate people purposely. Purposely.
Some they'll be using a condom and then they just
like purposely.
Are you serious?
Oh, they say, oh, the condom ripped. Oh, oh, there's too late. Why didn't you tell me before?
Yeah, because some guys, because some guys want, because in the to and froing, sometimes the condom can split.
Yeah.
The woman might not realise. The man may realise, because the man normally realises.
You would realise when you're about to
I feel
hit the jackpot.
I feel like in general to stop this, it just take your time to get to know someone and take the time to get to know yourself. But for me, the part that from all of this, the part that touched me the most is those that have been raped by their so-called
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation to be in.
I feel like,
By persons of
look,
trust, especially.
if you're in that situation, even if it happened a year, even if it happened 1 month, even if it happened 2 years, 3 months, 3 years, 2 months, 5 months, speak to somebody. Report it, because if he can do it to you, and especially single moms or those that have children, if a man rapes you, yourself as a mother, he is capable to rape your own child. Even if he is the father of the child, he is capable to do it. As a mother, we give birth, we produce, we bring out our children. We are there to protect our child because we're the one that builds our house and make sure the foundation is firm. And I feel like if you find yourself and you're afraid to speak to your mom, you're afraid to speak, I'm telling you, there are people that you can speak to. Even the boss brother, Marlene is here, my brother here, myself here, that you can come to speak to, and they will guide you to the right place.
You've got the cameraman like, what? Talk to me.
There are right people
He's
that
like,
you
yo,
can
me.
speak to. There are right people that you can speak to. And I'm speaking, and just because I don't want to speak about my experience and everything, but I feel like
thank you.
speak to somebody and expose it so it goes away. Yeah, I know he was scared, but I feel like
Louis doesn't want anyone to speak to him, so the boss brother part can be like taken out to.
No, but you can talk to them and get directed to us.
Basically, I'm gonna sum this up. So before I sum this up, any last words? For the man, perhaps, who are finding themselves in positions where a woman is taking a decision without their say, or they're telling the woman to get rid of the child.
I'd say especially for young men, because obviously young men might be in a situation where they feel that they have got, they're under too much pressure. They should definitely try and reach out and speak to an elder, speak to someone in their own community who's a bit older. Don't just talk to people of their own age group who might not have any experience and might not be able to give any knowledge. So, and that's what I'd say, just communication again.
Okay.
Communicate.
Last words for us, like not too much, but last words.
I know everyone knows my feet. For me, is this, like I said, for those that have been raped, I will hit a stone on that, a nail on that, is that speak to somebody and somebody will help you. And if you're a young lady, you found yourself, you made an error, you made a mistake, it's reasonable, everybody has made a mistake, and you find yourself in that, there are people that you can speak to and they can help you, and there are people that will support you. I know we hear the bad news most of the time than the good. There are people that will be willing to support you and help you. We're not encouraging you, but we hope that this teaches you a lesson and for you to wake up from it. And those that surrounding you, if you find those that had an abortion, please, I pray, or even your friends encouraging you to have an abortion, please, please, please make your decision based on your knowledge and think about the 5 years, 10 years, what will happen to you, the circumstances. Are you willing to really sit there and take it all in? Are you ready? Are you mentally ready? You may feel like you will do it, you're mentally ready, but in the future when you get there, you get a husband, you get a wife, even those that they have encouraged young ladies to go out, have an abortion. You'll find that even your partner as a male is not given birth. Why? Because that child you took, you told her to take it off, and she's probably in her marriage, she can't have a child. Please have a communication, tell your partner whatever it is, and trust me, it might turn out not the way you think it is.
Thank you very much. So as we said when we started the show, it was abortion for or against. And I would actually sit here and say we concluded in some shape or form is that it depends on the situation. If it's a situation where you do not have any medical issues, you have not experienced any sexual abuse, but yet you decide to go from Tom to Harry and decide that you don't want to keep the child because it's a shame to you, that is where most of us, I would like to say, has agreed that you need to take more into thinking about it, because that's not the right path to go about it or the right way to go about it. So that is a no. But when it comes to someone who is facing medical conditions, someone who has been raped, it's a very sticky situation, because there are people out there who have been raped, who have had the child, raised the child. At the beginning, it was quite difficult because it reminds them of everything that they had gone through. There are people out there who have been raped, had the child, but adopted the child. But there are people out there who are not strong enough, and I don't blame you, because it's not an easy situation to face or to be in at the time. And if you're sat in a doctor's office and they're telling you, ma'am, I'm sorry, this is A, B, C, and D. If you carry on with this pregnancy, you'll be affected like this, you'll be affected like this. And there's some people, they've had 1 or 2, 3 kids, and their blood pressure or other thing that they're affected by, when the doctor said, we don't want to see you in this labor ward anymore. Don't have any more kids, because it's at your own risk. Childbirth is at your own risk. You may die in the process of it. The abortion, you may die in the process of it. The abortion, you may not be able to have kids anymore in the process of it. And don't get it twisted. You take a pill here and there, it's got side effects. You take 1 morning after pill, it's equivalent to the 30 pill that you have on a daily dose. A man, communication is the key. You have a woman that you've been seeing, dating 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 years. Because even in a marriage, if a marriage can end after 20 years, then what is a relationship that's only been around for a year or 2? But you need to communicate. You need to address key issues. You need to be able to tell the woman, this is why I don't want to have the child. Or I want you to have the child. The woman needs to be able to take what you're saying into consideration. Because some women use their body in order to abuse the man and say, I have the power, therefore I am getting rid of this child. And the man wants to accept his responsibilities, but be a father, because they don't want to make the same mistakes that perhaps their father or their grandfather made, and you are not allowing them to make such decision. And once again, man, if you decide you don't want the child, please explain to the woman why you don't want the child. But the woman has every right to decide if she's going to carry on with the pregnancy or not. At the end of the day, there is life that is producing inside of her, and you don't know what could happen to that child in a few years' time. There could be that angel, the one that would release you, the one that will help you to see life in a different light, the same way Angelique said her daughter helped her to see life in a different light. It helped her to change her character. It helped her to stop the wildness and the fighting. It could also help another man to accept responsibilities, to be a bigger man than they are today. And man, please speak to each other. Please stop calling people baby mamas or stuff like that. They are the mother of your children, because the children will not remain babies. They will grow into adults and they will grow to be responsible men and women. They are the mother of your children. Please share key responsibilities. It's not just because you are not in good terms anymore that you have to frown upon everything. Share the respect, so that when your child is growing, they will know that my mother respected my father respected my mother. Instead of you thinking that the women are teaching the children to be against you. No, you are doing it yourself. So please, let's communicate. Let's support each other. Let's help those who are facing situations where they feel like, I'm pregnant, I'm peer pressured, my African family are going to say that this is a taboo. I need to get rid of it. And when they do that, they find themselves in bigger risks. So aunties and uncles, please, if the situation had already happened, deal with it. But just find a way to make sure that it doesn't occur again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching the Young Queen Show. Have a good night. Same time, same place next week. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Documentaire des Congolais. Soyons connectés sur les actualités des filles et des fils du pays, partout dans le monde. Découvrons des émissions de qualité, partageons notre savoir. Nous sommes à votre disposition pour vos émissions en direct de notre studio, dans vos églises et même dans vos maisons. Appelez-nous sur notre numéro WhatsApp. Boss Brothers TV, tout le monde en parle.